1848 when the enslaved population of the Danish West Indies marched to Fort Frederick and demanded and gained their freedom. And in addressing it, I want to just read something that I prepared.
Okay.
Okay?
We're ready.
Okay, good. I'll do it now. July 3rd, as I said, marks the date in 1848 when the enslaved population of the then Danish West Indies marched to Fort Frederick and demanded and gained their freedom. They signaled the arrival of emancipation from slavery in the territory. And it's quite a significant achievement when you look at the chronology as to how we as a people have developed. Many people know that in St. John, it probably had one of the major slave revolts in the New World, 1733. And I'm in St. John celebrating. And it culminated with the walk and the charge to freedom in Frederiksted and St. Croix, signaling our ancestors who marched to Fort Frederick, a group of slaves who marched in a unified spirit and purpose. Led by Moses General Budho Gottlieb, they marched to Fort Frederick and threatened to destroy the islands unless their freedom was immediately granted. A story like this is nothing short of legendary. Today we are still shaped and defined by this history. Their courage and activism pulsate through our veins and ignite a sense of pride in us today. This is part of the Virgin Islands archetype. And with a deep sense of community and a deep calling of responsibility that brought that group of men and women to Fort Frederick that day, it was coupled with a willingness to sacrifice that brought them to the square and put them in the face of life and death to demand their freedom. In the eye of uncertainty, their determination overcame their fear. Today, as we commemorate the triumphant efforts our forefathers made to make us free from servitude, we must ask, where are we today? 163 years later, after overcoming institutionalized slavery in the Virgin Islands, we must ask how far have we come and where we are now. If being emancipated means being set free, have we really been set free? Where are we as a community? Now, these questions are questions that every Emancipation Day we should ask ourselves. A community is comprised of individuals, so we must look at the Virgin Islands 163 years after emancipation and ask those questions. And as we ask those questions, reflect on the sacrifices that were made to bring us where we are. Now, I'll tell you what emancipation means to me currently and in the future. Emancipation rises from a resonant sense of personal responsibility. Emancipation develops through knowing who you are and standing up for what you believe in. Emancipation is living up to what you revere as your values. Being free is ultimately self-expression, when everything you are is aligned with who you meant to be. Someone who is free grabs the reins and takes control of their own destiny. And that is really you leading yourself. And it is a form of leadership. So when those of our forefathers who knew nothing but to be a slave and walk as a slave and to be treated as a slave, walked to Fort Frederick and commanded their freedom from enslavement, they knew nothing that would keep them away from being confined to a life of servitude. And they knew that nothing would keep them away from their destiny to be free. So the issue is much bigger and greater than simply just celebrating the day. It is about individual responsibility and the charge for freedom. 163 days later, we must look to the mirror to see where we are and where we have come. When we do so, we should see a glimmer of light that our forefathers saw when they envisioned their children. We are the 7 generations down the line they must have envisioned when they made the decision to walk that day. We are a part of destiny. So when we take pause and celebrate what those men and women did for us to be free, let us remember to take responsibility for our own actions and also the consequences of our actions. When you become a parent and raise your children, raise them with both love and limit, an understanding of discipline, an understanding of commitment, and an understanding of growth and respect. When you embark on a career, whatever that career might be, you must embody professionalism. You must be responsible for the decisions you make. And the decisions you make in whatever professional work you do must be honorable, ethical, and have a sense of standard and responsibility to working and working well. And if you ever have the privilege and honor to hold an elected office, take the responsibility of your actions very seriously. Represent the values of this community. Stand strong in your commitment to make the place a better place, and have a reverence for a higher being that has placed you in that position as your calling, and have a reverence for God and understanding that we all must answer to God. And if it comes down to it, and you have to understand how to use force diplomacy, as General Bodho did, because you stand for what you believe. Stand for it with honor and pride. I actually sit here, Carol, and take pause to revere this moment in history as a Virgin Islander. And I know destiny was changed forever when the men and women walked on July 3rd. And also we want to remember the risk they took to bring us where we are here today. And what we're doing today, we are standing today looking for leadership, for open communication, education, and a strong desire to be free and to have more autonomy. We stand embracing mindful emancipation with respect, sensitivity, and critical analysis with an understanding of our past and embracing new methods to create our future. Although we stand as one community, we may not all think or believe in the same thing. But we must come together for the sake of our destiny. And it starts with each one of us. If you find the strength to embrace these principles of emancipation, that surely would be something that you have to cultivate. Then, with these principles, you will be emancipated. And if you uphold our values and take responsibility for our destiny, surely you will remain free. I hope that everybody, Carol, could enjoy Emancipation Day
Carol stepped out.
And I hope that in enjoying Emancipation Day, all of the people could give reverence to God, to our ancestors, and to the risks they took to bring us where we are here today. And I also have a message to those of you listening on the TV, and it will be played, and I hope that the message resonates in everyone's mind because it's an important day. So, Hugh.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in. And is Carol, he stepped out? Okay.
No, she's back. She's back. You're talking about leadership, a few words about leadership that it's raining today and out there is very, very messy. And Carol, not feeling well, still take the leadership role to come to the radio station to open the show.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you. I know, and I want to also mention something about Independence Day, which is 4th of July. And I want to mention that in the context of the similarities and some of the things that are shared in common. 13 colonies also sought their freedom from an imperialistic nation. And at the time, they were being taxed and oppressed and suppressed in a completely different way. But it is still that individual desire for personal freedom to make your own choices and to have autonomy that drove the colonies to come together to at least fight off the British. And let's give respect to that too. It was a different type of struggle, and emancipation is a much more revered in our eyes because it freed us from the shackles of slavery. And I think that the comparisons should be made and honor should be given to those persons who did that on July 4th in America too. But the July 3rd celebration, I want to say that it is time that we start to recognize it as our day of reckoning and our day that has pushed us to where we are now. We still have work left ahead of us. There's a constitution that we would like to get into. There are several other measures that deal with education and historical perspectives for a lot of things that needs to be addressed. And then we look at some of the issues with crime and, health and hospitals that we need to deal with, basic functions of the community. But let's take pause today and celebrate Emancipation Day. Although the struggle was difficult coming up after that, there were several struggles. People should note that Edward Wilmot Blyden and D. Hamilton Jackson and some persons who, along the way, bringing us where we are, really took risks and took leadership roles in leading the Virgin Islands away from unfairness, segregation, and economic destitution, which I think we're moving away from gradually. So I think it's important that we give recognition to Emancipation Day, and different people will recognize it differently.